Hello, welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are sending in fabulous, fabulous questions. And once again, I'm just going to scroll through my phone as I get them. I didn't take the time to write them out today. There's been a lot going on Thursday with, the Trump surrendering and being arrested and yada, yada. So we're just going to muddle our way through. Let's get started, shall we? Thank you so much for being here. All right. First question. Will Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Bobbitt be held accountable? Okay, so for those of you who are new, the pendulum has been programmed, so when it goes side to side, I know that I am protected and I have reached the highest realms. Back and forth is yes, pendulum show me no, and it'll shift into a circular motion. Okay, here we go. So the question's a little bit open-ended, like held accountable for what? So I'm just going to modify it a little bit, see if we get some clarity. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene likely to be held accountable for her behavior around the insurrection? Okay, that's a yes. And Lauren Bobart, same question. Is she likely to be held accountable? And that's a yes. Now, I think, let me see, does being held accountable have more to do with losing their seat, like as in not being reelected? Okay, we'll take that for now. Did Marjorie Taylor Greene place the bombs that day? No. Well, that's confusing because I'm sure a while ago I asked a very similar question and I got a yes, but that's a pendulum for you. Will there be a peaceful transition of power in the next election? Well, I mean, yes, because there's not going to be a transfer of power. It's Biden to Biden. But we'll just double check. Peaceful transfer of power. Yes. Okay. Will race relations improve? Bit broad. Okay, how about this? Once the country settles down from the insanity and the hatred and the anger that has been perpetuated by Trump and Republicans, will race relations at that point calm down? Will they, and then improve? Okay, yes, but as you can tell, it looks like it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. Question. Within the next 5 to 10 years, will the United States once again be considered united? Okay, so looking down the road, 5 to 10 years, is the United States once again going to see? I don't like that because I don't know that the United States ever was united. I think it had the illusion of being united. I think there was a lot of really ugly stuff in the underbelly that people just weren't looking at. So how about this? How about within the next 5 to 10 years, will the United States become more united than they currently are? Okay, that's a strong yes. All right, question. Will Trump actually run for president in 2024? Will he be disqualified? So before we answer that, I have a question. There's been a lot of talk about the 14th Amendment and Section 3, and a lot of scholars, both Republican and Democrat, are saying, listen, he's disqualified. What it's going to take is it's going to take state secretaries to say, I'm not putting him on the ballot. He is not qualified to be president. That's my question. Are some state secretaries going to simply refuse to put Trump on the ballot? Yes. Okay, so when they do that, that is then going to lead to court challenges, correct? And yes. And is this going to make its way all the way to the Supreme Court? And yes. And is the Supreme Court going to agree that Trump is unqualified? He has disqualified himself from being president by previous behaviors. Yes. So that could explain how come a whole bunch of us psychics are like saying, I don't know, he's there, he's not there, I can't tell, he's not going to be there, that's somebody else, we don't know who somebody else is, right? That could actually be part of why there are all these conflicting sort of answers, because I think that free will, right? We need certain things to happen to fall into place that will then allow that process to unfold. And of course, as you go along, that's a process. But it seems to me that that may actually be the answer as to how come he's running and he's ahead in the polls, but no one can quite get him to the election. Okay, so having asked that, is there going to be significant civil unrest in the states where he is disqualified from being on the ballot? Okay, that's a no. So the question was significant, civil unrest. Okay, so no. Will there be, protests and smaller scale issues? Yes. Okay. Question. Will Fani Willis get fired? No. No. Pendulum reading questions. Trump replaces his top Georgia lawyer, Drew Finding, head of his surrender. Question, yes or no? Did Drew Finding resign as his attorney, or did Trump fire him? Okay. Did Trump fire Drew Finding? Okay, no. Did he resign? Yes. And did he resign because he was not getting paid? And that's a no. Apparently, the lawyer that he has brought in apparently is known as the billion-dollar lawyer. He can be a trillion-dollar lawyer. I mean, that doesn't erase what Trump is being charged for in Georgia. But I digress. Question. Trump is hosting a fundraiser for Rudy Giuliani at $100,000 a plate. Like, gracious, what are they feeding them? Probably rubbery chicken. I'll never understand. Is anyone going to show up? Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people showing up. Because they don't want to piss off Trump. Because they're hoping that they'll stay sort of on his good side. I'm brain dead, these people. Will Noelle Dunphy win her harassment suit against Rudy Giuliani before he runs out of money? Okay, that's a yes. She says that in her lawsuit that he has 5 unencumbered properties which he could liquidate to pay her. Is that true? Okay, so there's not an answer there. So let's ask it this way. Does he have other unencumbered properties that could be liquidated for cash? Yes, I think the thing is, I don't think it's 5. I think it may be 1 or 2. Um, Vivek, I'm going to screw this name up. I apologize. Uh, Ramaswamy, you think. I apologize. Um, he took up a lot of the oxygen in yesterday's debate. Um, okay, so the question, there isn't a question here, it's a statement. But okay, we'll ask the question. Is that going to benefit him? Okay, yes. One of the commentators was saying, I found it really interesting that it was fascinating, and I didn't watch it either because I'm just frankly not mentally strong enough. But on MSNBC, when they were doing the wrap up after the fact, then I watched that. But they were saying that it was really fascinating that nobody was going after DeSantis, and normally as the second highest whatever, that people should have been going after him, but I think they just thought he was not worth the energy to go after, frankly. Um, Overall, generally speaking, was DeSantis's performance well received, even or well received by Republicans? No. I don't know. Maybe it's going from low energy Jeb to low energy Ron. Who knows, eh? Hey, moving on. My haircut is beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we're talking about the Prigozhin, the guy out of Russia, right? Um, was he on that plane? Was he on the plane that exploded in the air and crashed? Yes. Putin has never been subtle about the way he gets rid of people who annoy him. And so, it wasn't too obvious because he doesn't care if it's too obvious because nobody's going to question him. Um, so was Putin behind it? Yes. Okay. Question for the pendulum. Will the Wagner Group side with Ukraine against Putin because of his death? I'm not getting an answer. I think that, okay, let me ask this. Is the Wagner Group likely to splinter off as a result of losing their leader? Yes, at least certainly in the short term. Um, yeah, so there's that. Oh, okay. This was interesting because I saw this question earlier and I sort of kind of said, like, what the hell already? What's the story with him? Somebody asked me if I believed Epstein was alive. And I got a really interesting answer. I'm not going to do I'll do the pendulum after I tell you the answer I got. And that in and of itself could explain how come we get that he's alive, but it doesn't make sense. The answer I was told was that he was oxygen deprived enough that he is actually brain dead. But for whatever reason, he has not physically left his physical body. That's what I was told. Let's see. Did Jeffrey Epstein end up brain damaged as a result of the quote hanging in his jail cell? Yes. But I don't believe he's like functional. Okay. Question. Is Jack Smith going to indict any of the Congress and senators for January 6th and the parts they played? Yes. People who routinely send me comments that say, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you do." Those comments are so heartwarming and so special to me. Thank you very, very much. It's a wonderful thing to be appreciated for what I do. So I thank you and I appreciate all of the love and support that you send me. Thank you. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if there was actually a question here. Okay, there's some chitter chatter about stone, um, but not a question there that I could see. Mhm. I know this isn't a political question. That's okay, but wanting to know if the writers' strike is going to end in September. Pendulum, is that writers' strike going to come to resolution in September? Okay, yes. Is that likely to happen towards the end of September? Yeah. If it's gonna end, it'll be towards the end of December, September. I know that they just rejected an offer. I'm gonna just double ask that in case I said the word December instead of September. Is the writer's strike going to wrap up and find resolution at the end of September 2023? Yes. Question. Is Trump involved with or know about the two bombs that were planted? No. Question for the pendulum. Do you see a new type of prejudice against Russian people in North America because of what 45 was involved with? Will their tourism money go down because of the war? Are the people of Russia? No. Are the people of Russian descent who live in America or other countries around the world, are they going to be facing a kind of prejudice retaliation for the behavior of Putin? No. Now, is their tourism money going to go down because of the war once it is over? Yes. Ukraine is going to rise, Russia is going to fall. Sorry, there's a lot of chatter here about Roger Stone and what a despicable human being he is. Thank you for those of you who clarified what Roger Stone was pardoned for. That had to do with the Mueller investigation and lying to investigators. So that means that that pardon does not extend, I don't believe, to any of his behavior having to do with J6. Is Roger Stone going to face an indictment over um, his involvement in January 6th? That's a pretty strong yes. Okay, somebody wants to know if the former guy, Trump, is going to be put in jail awaiting trial in Georgia because he talked. At this point, that's a no. And will this affect his DC case with Judge Chutkan? Chutkan? No. Is Trump now more likely to? Is he going to be at least somewhat more careful about some of the stuff he says? Yes. Is he going to continue to push to the line? Absolutely, he will. It's not really a surprise, is it? Um, will the majority of Republicans decide not to vote at all? No. Will a 10 or 20% of Republicans choose not to vote? Yes. Okay, so this is interesting. Somebody wants to know if the pardons that 45 gave to his cronies will be invalidated. No. I've also heard people make comments about, is his presidency going to be nullified? Is everything he did going to be reversed? I'll tell you right now, the answer is no. No. And the reason for that is because you can't sweep 4 years of American history under the mat. You can't throw it out the door. It happened. You can't pretend it didn't happen. Doing that negates the lessons that were meant to be learned by the experience. Even though a lot of us think it would be really fun to have that happen, but it's not going to. Will Trump be found guilty of trying to steal the election and January 6th and go to prison? Okay, so it's 3 questions there. Is Trump going to be found guilty on some or all of the charges connected to January 6th? Yes. Is Trump going to be found guilty on some or all of the charges connected to January 6th? Yes. Is he going to go to prison? No. Is he going to go into some sort of modified restriction, house arrest, or being put in an area that is sort of segregated off away from sort of other prisoners? Yeah. Okay. So when he is found guilty, there's going to be some discussion about exactly how you jail a former president. And I see him sort of segregated somehow. I don't even think that it's like Mar-a-Lago. It feels more like a space or an area that is away from everything, but where he will be able to be watched over not only by the state or federal authorities, but um, but by his Secret Service, because he's entitled to that protection. whether anybody likes it or not, and I'm sure most of us don't. Okay. I think I've come to the end of the questions. Okay, 25 minutes. That's long enough. All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. Because it's Pendulum Friday, it's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Remember to do something nice for yourself and somebody else over the course of the next few days. Take some time, recharge. There's been a lot of crazy going on this past week, and there's more crazy to come in the weeks that follow. I think that there's something going on the 28th. I think that's in New York. That Cheeseboro guy wants his trial in Georgia to be done, like he wants a speedy trial. And DA Willis's answer was great. Let's go on. I think it was October 23rd or something was the date. So a whole bunch of the other co-defendants are running around screaming, no, I need to delay. I don't, whatever. So that's going to be interesting. I'm very curious personally to sort of see how this whole Amendment 14, Section 3 kind of thing goes. I think that may ultimately be the thing that actually prevents him from being on the ticket. And the thing is, I mean, all you need to do is have a couple of those states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona. All you need is a couple of those states to say, I'm not putting him on the ballot. He can't, then there isn't a path for victory for him, even though there actually isn't one now. Okay. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your weekend. All things being good and fair, I will see you next week. Until then, take care and be well. Bye-bye.